Our guest is Larry Frimerman. He's the executive director of the Metroparks system in Ashtabula County. And it doesn't seem possible, but it's been 4 years since the Metroparks issue was on the ballot and passed, and it's up for renewal. And I remember at the time that it passed, the idea was that there's a lot of money out there for parks, but you need seed money. You have to have local money to show people that you're going to pitch in your part. And that's what the Metroparks money was for. So for every $1 you give, or that is generated locally, it generates more money outside the area. So, Mr. Frimerman, did that happen in this instance?
Absolutely. We have been very successful in leveraging the public's taxpayer dollars for grant monies over the last 3.5 years or so. And certainly since in the 3 years that I've been here, we have used the roughly $3 million of levy funds from that started in 2016 to flow, and have, as a result of our grant applications, we have been able to leverage $11.5 million so far, and are waiting to hear about a $500,000 grant from the Ohio Department of Natural Resources for trail development grant. And so that would be $12 million in the 3 years that I've been here, actually. So it's a $1 is leveraging $5 of grant monies. So it's like instead of a $3 million investment in that time span, it's a $15 million, but only for $3 million of your tax dollars.
So how much of now you were not here when the levy first passed.
No.
So how much of your time is spent with this sort of thing, grant writing and that sort of thing?
Maybe 25-30%. When you think of program development, project development, and project oversight and implementation, it works out to probably about 30% of the time. The actual fundraising component of the writing is probably, more like 2% of the time. It's not that much. It's just that once you have to develop your projects and then have that align with the master planning process, the watershed action plans, if there are those that exist, comprehensive plans from the county or local governments like the city of Conneaut has their new comprehensive plan, and how you have to identify how all of those things are going to fit together. What is the water quality benefit? What is the habitat improvement benefit? And what is the net benefit for our county overall? And so that's what just takes a little bit more documentation. But it's really about what can we provide for our county's taxpayers and residents here in Ashtabula County that we can also use to leverage for tourism as a driver of economic development. And we're able to do that. For example, Conneaut Creek is one of the, if not the best steelhead trout fishing stream in the United States. And people come from as far away as Japan to fish Conneaut Creek. Well, there haven't been many access points for Conneaut Creek. And one of the things that we have been able to do since 2014 is add a number of access points for Conneaut Creek, and now have even added a couple of places that people can put in their kayaks and canoes. And with trails, We've got trails throughout our Metropark system now. We went from having 3 open parks covering 396 acres of ground, and that was essentially the Greenway Trail and Harpersfield Metropark and that little Graham Road covered bridge, to now 10 Metroparks open covering about 1,275 acres of open parks. That includes 45 miles of trails. We've added 17 of those miles over the last 3 years. So it's substantial what we've been able to give back. We've been able to put parking lots at 9 parks, as well as having 9 trails added. We just put in, for example, at Harpersfield Covered Bridge Metro Park, 2 trails, both paved and boardwalked. One that leads to the waterfall and one that goes through the wetland area and along the Grand River, the wild and scenic Grand River. And they're beautiful.
Yeah, very beautiful area.
Yes, and we've also added a naturescape playground there as well. At Hatches Corners Metro Park, where I just came from, we've added 3 miles of trails, a stream crossing, and 2 parking lots, one on State Route 7 and the other off Hatches Corners Road. Both are absolutely spectacular trails, and they allow horses on that one. At the other new trail that we've just put in is at Indian Mound Metro Park, which is adjacent to downtown Conneaut, just across the Arch Bridge on Mill Road. And there's a 1.45 mile loop trail system there, including a boardwalk area that goes across and sits on top of the protected wetland,
right off the parking lot there.
Right off the parking lot, and that goes right to Conneaut Creek and bends around. It wraps all the way around the peninsula that is really the home of Red Brook Metro Park. The trail eventually will wrap underneath the Route 7 bridge on up what's known as Hogsback Ridge, and people will be able to see from the bluffs downtown Conneaut Creek, and look across to the Indian Mound fortification, which is not a mound. It's actually just a fortified, elevated place that the Iroquoian tribes would come and be able to get out of high water and to be able to defend themselves in conflict.
I mean, it's a big difference. We were talking about Conneaut. Is 4 or 5 years ago, you say Japan, more people, it was like every day there'd be this convoy of people coming from Youngstown to fish, and they would park along Route 7, hope their car didn't get hit, hope they didn't get hit, go down and fish, and then get in their car, they're on Route 7, and head home, and not spend any money or just kind of there and gone.
Right, and with so many places now to be able to fish and hike and tie into then their proximity to the wineries, we are able to then provide enough for people to do to then want to stay at dinner in Conneaut or in Kingsville or North Kingsville or go to Ashtabula Harbor or other places throughout the county. Do the same on the Greenway Trail.
Yes.
And to be able to take advantage of all that Ashtabula County has and then want to stay overnight. And so what does that provide? It provides additional revenues to the county overall. The other thing that we've been able to do, talking about leveraging, is that about 3/4 of the monies that we raise and spend are being spent here and invested here in Ashtabula County's businesses and residents, meaning that the contracts, they tend to be with Ashtabula County firms, and our staff all live here in Ashtabula County, and so your money actually is staying in Ashtabula County.
I was on the Greenway Trail a few weeks ago, and there was a group of people. I ended up joining them, and they got to the end in downtown Ashtabula, and they're all celebrating. Well, it turns out they're all from Pittsburgh, and they started on the Greenway Trail in Warren, and were coming up, and they were staying at one of the hotels off of Austinburg, and then they were going to go back to Warren. So, I mean, they had a great time in Ashtabula County, and they spent the night here, and I'm sure they had dinner. So, I mean, that's just one example of what's going all the time.
Yes, and here in Ashtabula County, we want to retain our young folks. We want to retain our retirees and our working people because there are jobs here. We want to make this the place that people want to stay and hang out. We have places for millennials to hike and to boat and fish, and
you see a lot of older people out there, though.
Exactly.
You do.
And that's who this is for. Our park system is for folks that are here in Ashtabula County. We can really take advantage of that. It increases the quality of life. It gives kids and older adults things to do that they wouldn't otherwise have the ability to do. Many of them don't involve a car, which means that people who no longer or never couldn't drive yet or couldn't afford a car could still avail themselves of the parks. The other thing that we've done is that our parks, by and large, are accessible. They're ADA accessible. The trails that we're putting in, all the paved and boardwalked ones are ADA accessible. The parking lots are all ADA accessible, and even the bathrooms are, by and large, ADA accessible. We have some trails that we're planning on constructing at our new Red Brook Metropark. They're going to be paved ADA accessible trails that'll be able to tie into the existing network of golf cart trails that were in existence when we acquired the property in about a year ago. The end of October of 2018, we finished the acquisition of that Red Brook Metropark. We're having the grand opening coming up on October 17th, even though it's been open. We're just going to be doing the ribbon cutting there since the sign is new.
Larry Frimerman's our guest. He's the executive director of Metroparks. Can you just, first of all, emphasize that this is no additional cost to the taxpayer?
Oh, right.
So that goes without saying, but this is just a renewal, and the amount is not that much in the first place.
Yeah. The levy fund will cost taxpayers essentially $18 per every $100,000 of property valuation. So in Ashtabula County, that means approximately $18 a year is what you would be spending through this. And when you think about that, that's essentially a cup of coffee a month.
Right, yeah. And we're about out of time, but there's a mental health levy on the ballot. This is kind of a mental health issue too.
Absolutely. We are participating in a prescription for parks program with the university hospitals.
That's right.
And the bottom line is getting out in nature and with fresh air is very good for your mental health as well as your physical health.
We got to go. Thank you, Larry Frimerman.